Hey folks, I am Troy and you're watching TroyTube. Today we're going to talk about search engine optimization for WordPress. Now, search engine optimization, or SEO, is a big topic, and there are it's different today than it was 8 or 10 years ago. Back then you could manipulate search engines quite a bit by posting certain types of links and building certain types of link pyramids, things like that. We're not going to get into that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about the basic things that you should be doing with your WordPress site, or any website really, to help your search engine rankings. And this is a big topic, so I'm going to split this video up into at least a couple different parts. The first part we're going to do, we're going to install a couple plugins. One, we're going to create a sitemap. It's an XML file that tells basically tells search engines where everything's located on your website. And then we're going to install one to do meta tags and meta keywords and meta descriptions. A lot of people will tell you these things don't really matter and all that, but the way I look at it is I think they do matter because they have content search engines like to see, but they also are things that are easy to do, that you should do, that can't hurt your rankings. So we're going to switch over the computer here and get started. Again, two plugins, Sitemaps and meta tags. You could do this with one plugin. There's a plugin called Yoast SEO that is a big popular plugin that you can explore and do this on your own, and if you want to combine some of the efforts and maybe even look at some of the services they offer. But I'm going to do it with two separate simple plugins to give you the good concept, the simple concept of how these things work. So again, I'll switch over the computer and get started. As always, we're already logged into our WordPress administration control panel, and we're going to go down to the plugins section and go to add new, and we'll type in the search box simple SEO, and the one you're looking for is the simple SEO plugin by David Cole. Now again, this is a simple plugin. I was going to do this with two separate pieces, but this plugin does the meta tags as well as the sitemap, so I'm just going to show you within this one tool. You can also use Google XML sitemaps. There is Yoast SEO, all-in-one SEO. There's many different plugins, as you can see some of them even on this page, that do multiple functions and do it in different ways. So you're probably going to want to explore a little bit and look at some different plugins to accomplish what you want. And along with WordPress, the one that works for you and you like the best is the best one for you to use. I'm more about showing you what the functionality is and what you're looking to accomplish using just these simple plugins, rather than making the video very complicated, because I'm using a plugin that does a lot more than what I'm trying to show you right now. So again, we're going to install this simple SEO plugin, and then we're going to activate it, and then we're going to go to the settings. And if you'll notice over on the left under the settings, it added an entry for the simple SEO plugin. So these plugins sometimes will add menu items for you to make it easy to get to them. And so these are our default settings for the home page. So we're going to add a few things in here that will affect the way our main web page appears to search engines. And with meta tags, we're dealing with three primary components. One is the meta title, the site title, so the name of your website. And then the second one is the default description, or the meta description for the page or site or the post, or every page can have a different, in fact it's recommended every site has a different meta description, a different title, and different keywords, so that search engines can differentiate between the different types of pages, and you don't get kind of negative points on search engine optimization for duplicate content. So the default description is usually one or two short sentences that just kind of tell what that site or the page is about. And then default keywords, and typically with keywords you want just probably 3, sometimes up to 4 or 5 keywords. In this example I'm using 4 separate keywords, and they're separated by comma. And it's important to note that sometimes a keyword is one word, as TroyTube, comma, WordPress, and then a comma. And then WordPress tutorial is 2 words, but it is considered one keyword. And the same thing for learn WordPress. So it is, again, 2 words that is one keyword. And so we will save that, and now that is for our home page. Now we'll come back to this in a moment and do the sitemap, but for now this is again our default homepage settings for our meta title, description, and keywords. We're going to go over and take a look at posts as a good example, and I'm going to edit this values post that we put up in the other video, and you'll see that it is picking up information from the title of the page and the first couple of sentences of the page, and you notice that it kind of cuts off right here. And then if I look at keywords, there are no keywords for the meta keywords. So I want this to look a little bit more appealing to me, so I'm going to enter in TroyTube blog and then put a hyphen, and I always put in things like this, I tend to put a space before and after the hyphen to separate things, and then the title. And you notice as I did that, it changes the preview up here for me. So when people search and they find your content, this is what it's going to look like to the search engines in the little preview before you click on it. And in order to keep this from cutting off, what I'm going to do in this example, I'm just going to grab this first sentence here and use that as my example, and you see that the preview here is now sentence just shortened to just that one sentence, and I'm going to update that real quick, and then we're going to come back to the keywords, and the keywords are blank, and so I'm going to put a few keywords in here. We're going to use values, integrity, and value versus values. So we're using that. We're going to update it. On the robots tab, the function this serves is to tell engines not to index it, and there could be reasons you don't want your content indexed, but this will tell it not to index this page, and no follow tells it not to index links on this page that go to other pages. So you can control whether or not some search engines would index the content as well. And then in this case, the Facebook and Twitter fields affect how this is going to appear should it be shared on those platforms. So you can control the little preview if it's posted and shared on those social media platforms, and if by default it's going to use what's here, but you could maybe change something a little bit if you wanted it to appear a little bit different and a little bit more appealing perhaps to social media users, but we're going to leave that blank for now. And if I were to go up here and click on view post and view this page, you see that it doesn't really look any different to the user, but if I view page source, this is the source of my page. It's what's generating the HTML that you're seeing. And if I scroll down a little bit, you'll see here we have meta tag keywords. You see the keywords that I entered. Here is the sentence that I entered in. And then if I go up to the top and look at the title of the page, you'll see that it is just as I formatted it in the meta title, rather than the default of just value versus values like it was before. So those are going to affect how they show up to the search engines. And again, those meta keywords, description, and title can be controlled at every page level. So posts, pages, and so forth. If you're running an online store, which we'll get into in a later video, those are affected as to how it affects how those things show up on search engines as well as social media in that way as well. And so we're going to go back to our settings and the simple SEO plugin. We're going to talk about the sitemap. We're going to tell it to generate a sitemap and create sitemap and click OK, and it'll just kind of refresh, and it says a new sitemap has been created. So to find that sitemap, we're going to click on our browser and open a new tab, and we're going to go to our website and /sitemap XML. Now you notice this redirected and added a WP hyphen in front of it. But this sitemap is basically a hierarchical tree of your website content. Now this website's really basic. There's not a whole lot there, so you're not going to see much yet. But a large website would contain basically all the links on that website and how everything is built. So we'll talk about Google Webmaster Tools in a different video, but you would take this sitemap address, this URL, and submit it to your search engine, and you're telling the search engine, here is the map of my website. Without a sitemap, search engines have to not only find your website or be told that your website exists, but they then have to use what's called a spider to crawl your website, or a web crawler, and it will start at your home page, and it will basically click in the background every link and find every link on every page, and then explore your entire website and build this. And it's a very time-consuming process. It uses bandwidth and traffic and so forth. But if you use a sitemap, it is a much more structured way for you to tell the search engines what your valid content is and where it's located and how your website is structured. So we'll get into that when we do a video on Google Webmaster Tools and how to submit your sitemap to that. But for now, I've used this one plugin, this Simple SEO. Again, you can use many different plugins to accomplish these two things. They're very important for your search engine optimization, and it controls, again, how things appear when people search for your website and they find your content, or it can affect how it appears on social media when people share your posts. So again, the right plugin, the right SEO plugin, the tools that work for you are the ones that do the best job for you. Some themes perhaps may not be compatible with all plugins, so sometimes you might install a plugin, put in your meta keywords, and then you can't find them anywhere on your page because that theme might not be compatible. So there are some little caveats to using some of this, and it's a learning experience, but play around with it. The Simple SEO plugin, the all-in-one SEO pack, the Yoast SEO, they all perform similar functions, and I would encourage you to explore and understand which one works the best for you, for your theme and your features that you want. And a lot of times it's easier to keep something like this that is very simple than to manage bigger plugins that do more right out of the gate, because you still have a lot of learning to do. So hopefully this video has been helpful to you. If you have any questions or comments, post them down below.